a Victory Sunday opening drive as we record this. It'll be Monday when you listen to it. As of the coach and the couch potato. As always, I am Jeremy the couch potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. What is good, sir?
Not much, man. Just got done watching the Browns. That was disappointing per usual, but yeah, it's been a tough weekend. Took a tough loss to a rival, first round of the playoffs. But man, playoff football, there's nothing like it. It's win or go home. It's such high stakes. You know, you get the best of the coaches, you get the best of the players and the opposing coaches and players, man. And so to be in that environment, the crowd was packed. They were loud, man. It was a tough loss. Obviously, lost with 9 seconds left on the clock. But man, it was a great game, and it was a bittersweet but fun way to close out year 15 for me. Like, obviously, I wanted to keep playing, but to go out knowing that the kids were swinging, you know, something I've always said to my players all the time: just keep swinging, man. You know, Buster Douglas mentality. You never know what's going to happen. Just keep swinging, and to know for a fact that our kids kept swinging until literally the last snap of the game. Like, I can walk out of year 15 with an 8-3 record and feeling pretty good about the future of our program and where we finished up this year.
Heck yeah. You know, you guys are young, so you guys have a lot of room to make some noise again next year.
Yep.
You know, year 15 total, year 1 at Olentangy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool trajectory.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
So yeah, speaking of, you hit on something real quick before we dive into obviously the main event, so to speak. Atmosphere. You talked about atmosphere.
Yeah, man.
You know, we have kind of hit on, and it's been a thing on social media all week about the environment at Ohio Stadium. I watched a couple, Penn State yesterday, noon game. That place was bonkers.
Yeah.
Until Gus Gus Johnson kills me.
He's fantastic.
Once the momentum swung, and he goes, "Do you hear that?" No, you don't, because Ohio State has sucked the life out of this stadium. But Penn State, South Carolina last night.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow. That's what college football is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I really hope we're headed there. Hopefully, Ross Bjork, coming from A&M, which is a great environment, can try to figure something out. Who, by the way, was in Marion last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the I think it was the Kiwanis did their high school athlete week, where they bring in the kids from all the county schools, and Bjork was the speaker.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually a little disappointed I didn't know. I would have sent a mini helmet with my guy Jay Long.
Yeah.
But obviously, what we're here to talk about, though, the Buckeyes go to, as Will Howard put it, Sad Valley, and I don't even want to say grind out, because I don't think it was a grind. I mean, this game should have been, final score was 20-13. Somebody in this room called it 21-17.
You did.
But it should have been way closer to your prediction. I mean, Ohio State, obviously, the Will Howard fumble. And Will Howard could have scored on the third down play.
Oh, yeah.
But Will Howard was smart. Took the slide. This game was just a physical domination for the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to dive pretty deep into it because there's a lot to talk about. But obviously, the highlight for us, I think both of us, was the last 6 minutes of the game, give or take.
Yeah.
And I literally wrote down on my sheet, we try to keep it pretty politically correct around here, but there's no other way to put it. That was grown man shit.
Yeah.
You get them first and goal on, it was almost like the 1.5. They said the 3, but
yeah,
the spot was a lot closer, and you stop them 4 times.
Yeah.
And then you get the ball on your own 1 with 5 minutes and 13 seconds left, and you run the ball 11 times for 58 yards when they know you're going to run the ball.
Yes.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. And one of the things that, we'll dive into this a lot more, but no matter where you are in the field, it's the defense's job to get stops. I don't care what the offense does. Don't care if you're put in a bad spot with a short field. Wherever you are on the field, it's your job to get a stop and give the offense a chance to close out the game. And to see the way that the Buckeyes really attacked that goal line stand, it was great. To see Lathan Ransom take away Drew Aller's first read on fourth down, you could see that's where he wanted to go.
Yep.
Bottom line, which I would have too. I would have found a way to give 44 the ball the whole time. He would have got it 4 times because he was clearly their best player. But to take that away and to force him to go somewhere that he didn't want to go, and Caleb Downs was right there, and it was just good. And so as the offense seeing that, all right, the defense did their job. Now we have to do ours, and to close out the game and such a perfect almost 4-minute drill. I mean, that's what you want to do. If you've got the lead, and you're in that 4-minute drill, you really want to take the air out of the ball, right? You really want to get that clock moving. You got to find a way to get 2 or 3 first downs so that if you do have to punt, that they're going to be backed up. They're going to have had used all their timeouts, and they're going to have less than a minute to get the ball or to drive down the length of the field to score, right? That's what you want. And so to just grind out those first downs and to see the offensive linemen coming to the sideline jacked up, and like that was something that's been missing, I think. And Zach Boren said that on his show on the podcast daily, that that's something that he wanted to see. He wanted to see that. And Zach Boren is the definition of a Buckeye. Offense, defense, did whatever it took for the team, and for him to come out and say that, he's a staunch defender of the Buckeyes. So for him to say that lets me know, okay, maybe there was something. And so to see the offensive line really take all those things they've been hearing personal, that was awesome. And then Quinshon Judkins, man, like my dad, God love him. My dad is not a trash talker. Like he hates that. He hates when he sees guys trash talking. And I said, Dad, we need that. Mm-hmm. We need him to be that way, because that fires up the offensive line. That fires up the team. And like, that is a true dog. The SEC produces dogs. And so you could see that in that last drive. And once I saw him running that hard, I was like, okay, I think we're going to be good. So yeah, man, it was a great way to close out the game.
Yeah. And I think Quinshon is rubbing off on Trey. You're seeing Trey. Now, Trey's not going to bark at you. That's not him. But the physicality that those guys are playing with on the third down to seal the game, the block that Quinshon laid. Yeah. I mean, it's a blocking. We've talked about running back blocking since we started this, with Zeke and, with how we think James Peoples, is going to be really good in that thing or in that part of the game. But to see Quinshon, who ran the ball 14 times for 95 against a pretty vaunted Penn State defense. I mean, we talked, before the battle that, the interior of their D-line, little shaky, but other than that, they didn't really have a lot of weakness against the run.
Yeah.
We thought there would be some opportunities against the corners, and their secondary played great. But physicality is a mindset, and it's contagious. To see Donovan Jackson out there just ready for war. I mean, when we were picking up these first downs, and you could just see that fire within him. That's what it's about. But it all starts with the guy under center.
Yeah.
Your quarterback is your leader. There's a reason that outside of Bo Callahan, every quarterback is a team captain, essentially. That's your guy, Will Howard came out and said it. He goes, not my best game. Probably the worst game I've played. The pick six to start the game, we were talking about it before we came on. We don't think he saw the guy. It was great defense.
Yeah.
but Will has to figure out, what's going on there. The fumble, dumbest rule in sports. I don't know how you fix it aside from it's a dead ball at the spot of the fumble. But the crazy thing on that play is if that ball doesn't hit his leg, it goes out of bounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, hold on to the ball, and it doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. Yeah, Will Howard, man, he there is something about him that it's almost like what you want to see in your franchise quarterback. It is what you want to see in your franchise quarterback. Not afraid to own things, when things are bad, and quick to give love when things are good. And that's what you want to see from your quarterback. And for him to kind of bring that to the Buckeyes, I think that's what the Buckeyes needed at quarterback. And it's not a knock on Kyle McCord or CJ Stroud or anything like that. Like I think Kyle McCord, he got a lot of backlash. I think Kyle McCord is actually a pretty solid quarterback. CJ Stroud was obviously the man, Dwayne Haskins, all those guys, but they weren't JT Barrett, right? They weren't going to be the ones that are vocal, that are chomping at the bit, like, beating Penn State, saying this is my house, doing all that stuff. Like that's just not who they were. And that's okay. But I think with this team, with this roster, I think you need a quarterback that is like a Will Howard, that is going to will his way to do whatever it takes to get the win, right? I'm not having the best game, but dang it, on this third down and whatever, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I make the correct read and I go get this first down. And so I was happy to see him really step up in those moments that we needed him to. I think, he's a little hard on himself. Yeah, he had two really boneheaded plays, no doubt about it. The interception, he got fooled by the defense and he threw it into it. That stuff happens. The fumble, I want to give him a pass, but I can't. Like that can't happen, especially in that type of a game. Like, you saw the way Quinshawn was running with the ball high and tight. Wrap your wrists so that it stays close to your body. Do whatever it takes to hold on to the ball. But to see him, step up after that, like the resiliency that he showed, like that is the definition of a leader. And I think with that formula of having that leadership, and if our run game can continue to develop and our defense plays the way they have been, I think we are going to be a hard team to beat from here on out. And so I'm happy that Will Howard's our quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you just said, as we've developed an identity and things like that, I've made no secret, I follow Vegas and what Vegas says and what Vegas does. I want to get the exact numbers. So in August, the Buckeyes were plus 450 to win the Natty. As of right now, your betting favorite on FanDuel at plus 330 to win the Natty are the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Okay.
Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, Texas. That's your top four. So it's amazing how quickly the narrative changes.
Yeah.
Because you finally showed what you are truly capable of doing.
Yeah.
Will Howard, 16 to 24, 2 tutties, the pick. Still completed 2/3 of his passes. That's the first game this year he's been under 70 or 75%. That's wild.
Yeah.
Quinshawn, we hit on 95 yards. Your favorite stat, we ran the ball for 176 yards.
Yep.
That goes a long way. And along with that, you also saw Will Howard carry the ball 12 times.
Yeah.
It was a bigger part. One thing I liked, you hit on, the fire that Will showed after the pick. I loved how they went back to him.
Yep.
Right away. Don't let him dwell on it. Let him get out there. He had the one errant throw, I guess you would say, to JJ. But the silver lining to me on that is he didn't overthrow it or underthrow it. He just didn't aim it. I mean, he just let him too far to the sideline.
Yeah.
But I understand he was trying to put it where only JJ could get it to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's really important to understand the importance of the run game when it comes to these big games. You look at Oregon, you look at the way Oregon beat Michigan, right? I thought Michigan would be able to give them a tougher game because of how much they want to run the ball. But when you're facing these teams that are going to be high pace and that are going to score quickly, like in Oregon, your run game is paramount for your defense. Your run game is paramount for you to control the clock. And so for the Buckeyes to win this rushing battle, that just lets me know like they understand the importance of that, especially coming off of Oregon, especially coming off of Nebraska, where you didn't even rush for 100 yards. They know that you have to be able to win the rushing battle in these big games. And I believe they outgained Penn State by like 50 or 60 yards on the ground and were able to close the game out. And I think that's so important. And it gives the offensive line such confidence moving forward that you trust them. The same level of trust was given to Will Howard as well. Listen, I've been a head coach, been a coordinator. You always go down swinging with your guys, right? You can out scheme, you can do all these different things. That's awesome. But you're at the end of the day, you are going to get the ball into the hands of your guys that are going to go win you the game or give you the best chance of winning. You can't go away from that. You can't. You've got to find ways. You can scheme stuff up and throw, some wheel routes or whatever, like we did to Emeka, which was a great play design. You can do those different things. But in our base stuff, when we're running inside zone, can we trust that our offensive line is going to get a push so that we can get 4 or 5 yards when we need to get it? When we run inside zone and that end is crashing like Abdul Carter, you got to expect him to work down flat to go make a play because he's just a freak of nature, which he showed. Is Will Howard going to make the correct read to work to get outside the pocket? That's our guy. Can I trust Quinshawn and Travion to make these huge blocks on these plays because they're our guys? Yes, you can. And so to me, that lets me know how much the coaching staff believes in these guys, to put it on their shoulders, to take the ball out of Quinshawn's hand or out of Travion's hand in that last drive and say, hey, I'm not going to give you the ball, but Quinshawn, I need you to go lay the boom on this guy really quick so Will can go seal the deal. And to see him and Travion go do that, it's just like that's selfless. And that is something that, we could say a lot of things about this Buckeye team. We could say a lot of things about Ryan Day. But on Saturday, it showed me that this team has one thing in mind and one thing only. And that is to get to the Big Ten championship, to beat Michigan, and to go get a natty. You know what I mean? And you could see that they're fixated on those things, and this was a must-win. And they played like it. And so that's what I'm excited about moving forward. I don't think you'll see them take a step back and look past anybody from here on out.
No, I think I already feel sorry for Purdue because I think they are going to build off of this, and they are going to want to start smacking people in the mouth.
Yeah.
You've got Purdue and Northwestern, and then potentially 10-0 Indiana coming to town. And I've already seen the social media clamoring for that to be a night game. You don't want that to be a night game. You want it to be a noon game. You don't want to go into hate week behind the 8 ball. The sooner you get done on Saturday, the sooner you can start prepping. Again, Michigan, there's nothing else to say about them right now. I think Will Johnson has entered business decision mode. Other little interesting caveat is the week of the game is the week that they have to respond to the notice of allegations. So that's going to be a real chippy game. Obviously, the big question, coming into this game for the Buckeyes was the O-line.
Yep.
We didn't know what we were going to get. We didn't know who we were going to get. And it actually kind of became an out of left field assortment, I guess you would say. We had the Donovan Jackson moved to left tackle, we knew. But Carson Hinsman was not discussed until the back end of the week as being the guy to go at guard. And then Seth, Tegra, and Josh Fryer. The more, you brought up when we were talking yesterday during the game about the experience side of bringing Carson Hinsman. And I think Gus and Joel actually hit on it. And so I started to kind of think about it. it actually makes a lot of sense to put Hinsman in because he played beside Donovan all year last year.
Yeah.
So now Donovan has a familiar face beside him in an environment that you're going silent.
Yeah.
So, and they did a really good job of breaking that down during the broadcast yesterday, showing the leg tap. And, for Ohio State to get Penn State to jump in their own stadium using a silent count is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, obviously I was pulling for my guy Luke to be the guy that went in. Like that's who I wanted to see. But I think from a coaching perspective, I think going with that experience and you mentioned the environment that you're going into. People forget that Carson Hinsman started 12 games for us last year. He didn't play in the bowl game, which was a pseudo suspension for saying things on podcasts or whatever. But he has 12 games of experience. He played in big games, played in the big house, played against Penn State at home, like did all these different things. And like you said, being next to Donnie Jackson, was something that I don't think the coaching staff could overlook. Going into this game, you want to have the most veteran offensive line that you can because it's insane. I mean, it's insane when they were doing the college game day and they were showing like all the people in the background. Like it was mind blowing how many people were there. And so to have Carson Hinsman ready to go and locked and loaded, shout out to him. Shout out to him for being prepared for that moment. You've not played one snap, I feel like, since week 3
Yep.
or 4. Not once. You haven't even sniffed the field. And you come in this game, in this moment, ready to play at a very high level. And at the end of the game, you could just see the excitement that he had on the QB sneak when we were on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
To see the excitement that he had to just get 4 yards and to get out of that situation, that lets me know like there was probably like a weight lifted off of his shoulder a little bit, because I'm sure things were going through his mind. Am I even going to be here next year? Like, do they believe in me? I start 12 games. I'm not even getting any reps now. And then to be thrust into that moment, man, like shout out to Coach Fry and the offensive line staff for making sure that he was ready to go because that was huge and needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Donovan Jackson, yes, he gave up 2 sacks. Both of those sacks were when he was left alone. And I don't care who you are, blocking Abdul Carter one-on-one is not easy and not going to be successful most of the time.
Dude, he's so good.
He is. He's got serious Micah Parsons vibes.
Yeah. He's so talented.
He's a freak athlete. He plays hard. He's got moves. Buckeyes 6 of 13 on third downs yesterday.
Yeah.
But the bigger piece to that puzzle, and this is a shout out to that offensive line, 4 for 4 on third down and 4 or less.
Yep.
An area that has killed us the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I do think that this O-line combination is probably better suited to run block. So that falls right into the Chip Kelly scheme of what he wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think moving forward, you can live in that area of throwing the ball with Will Howard 20 to 25 times a game max. Like we don't need him to go throw for 350 yards to win, but if we have to, he's got the capability to do that, and we obviously have the weapons to do that on the edge. I mean, I was so happy to see Brandon Ennis get some love. You know what I mean? Like that's a kid that, I sat next to his family in San Antonio, and they made some comments like, he better play as a freshman. And this is a kid that is just bought into being a part of Zone 6 and bought into being a Buckeye. So I was happy to see him get his love. So you're going to have those opportunities to find a way to get the guys the ball out on the edge. But if we can get our run game to play like this, and if this offensive line is best suited for running the ball, and we can consistently have 200 plus or around 200 yards rushing in these big games where we have to be able to run the ball, I mean, you got to do it. And that's something that, I think will take us to the next level, and it will really elevate, the confidence of not only, the players, but the coaches as well. I need to know on 3rd and 2, can you get me the first down? By any means necessary, are you going to be able to get enough push to go get the first down? And they showed that they could.
Yeah, absolutely. Chip Kelly, deserves some flowers. He was in his bag a lot that yesterday. That little tight formation that you would not ever assume pass out of. And I think we went to that formation a lot to protect the O-line. But we were very successful out of it. And then for him to also bring in your entire second group of wide receivers on the same play and throw the ball out of that formation, which resulted in a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's being in your bag, because there's no way Penn State thought you were going to throw the ball with Jaden Ballard, Brandon Ennis, and Rogers out there.
Yeah.
And Chip says, you know what? I got you. And then the 4th and 1 play call where you throw the ball to Jelani Thurman, who showed you a little bit of what Jelani Thurman can be.
Yeah.
When we talk about Jelani being a freak, go back and watch that play and the hand strength that play took to catch that ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And Will Howard just making Abdul Carter miss was not something that is an easy thing to do. And so to make him miss and to keep the play alive and to be able to find an open receiver like that was huge. But yeah, Chip Kelly, one of the greatest offensive minds in the sport of all time. He's able to scheme things up, and I think he did a really good job. One of the things that we really haven't shown much is that option game, and I love the way that we set up our speed option to the boundary or to the single receiver side, because the first thing we did is that we put the ball out in front of us like we were going to be running some sort of zone read, and then the running back took a step down and then they broke out. You're putting that end in so much conflict now, because now he thinks, okay, if we're a scrape replace team, which means if you're a scrape replace team, most guys who are defending zone read will have the defensive end go, chase the dive or chase the running back, linebacker scrapes over top. Okay. Well, when you do this, right, and you think that you're going to get that dive or get that inside zone action, that defensive end now is stuck in limbo because, oh crap, now I stepped down and now Will Howard is taking off the run option. So now we're optioning off the linebacker who's actually responsible for the quarterback, and there's still nobody for the running back. And so like that is a very clever, simple thing and a simple adjustment to really help your offensive line out. You don't have to have perfect blocking for that play. It's really Will Howard making the correct read. Yep. And so like things like that, man, it was awesome to see. And then when we needed to play in the passing game, you go to Emeka, you go to JJ. I would have liked to see JJ catch that ball, the one deep pass. Gosh, man, that was a good ball. I don't think he thought it was coming to him. Nope. But it was a dime, man. That would have been nice. But
because he stuttered out of the break.
Yeah. But man, to see Chip Kelly and some of the things that he came up with in the run game, was very simplistic things that he felt confident that the kids could do, and they went out and executed, man. And it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And the cool thing about this game is it wasn't all about the offense. Nope. The defense, man. They put Drew Ayler 12 of 20 for 146 yards and a pick. And they made Penn State break tendencies. Their leading rusher was Tyler Warren, who we've talked about how good of a receiver he is. But Tyler Warren should not be your leading receiver when you have Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, who carried the ball for 18 times for 42 yards.
Yeah.
Which is just insane. And then Nick Singleton was your leading receiver, which the bulk of his yards came on one play. Tyler Warren had 4 catches, 47 yards, but 31 of those came on one.
Yeah.
So shout out to the defense for really making them not be able to do what they had probably came out wanting to do. I thought the D-line played really good.
Yeah.
Ty and Tyleek feasted.
Yeah.
We got pressure. but we shot too far upfield multiple times.
Multiple times.
I'll take Drew Ayler having to scramble and get yards that way to keep them in a game, though.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, as a defensive coordinator, when you're coming into the week, you figure out what you want to take away from the offense. All right, if I am Ohio State going into this game, I'm making Drew Aller beat us. I'm taking away the running backs. We are going to sell out to stop the run. I feel confident in playing man coverage against these guys because I don't feel like they have somebody that could take the top off the defense. If they beat us underneath, they beat us underneath. We just rally to it and make the tackle. And so if that means in third and long situations, second and long situations, that we take everything away and the pressure doesn't hit home and Drew Aller has to step up and go scramble and make a play, you can live with that because you know that's not going to be a consistent thing. The pressure will hit home eventually. You hope so anyway. If it doesn't, then obviously you've got to figure out a spy. You got to start doing some different things to stop it. But I thought the Buckeyes did a really good job of executing the game plan. They didn't deviate from really what they've done over the last few weeks. There was only a couple of things that changed. Was the D-line rotation changed quite a bit.
Yes,
you saw some guys playing a lot more. I thought Mitchell Melton looked good when he was in there. I thought Kenyatta Jackson played his best game as a Buckeye. I thought Caden Curry did a great job of getting some penetration when he was lined up on the inside of the defensive line. And, you know, I thought Caden McDonald, when he was on there in the red zone, just blowing up the center.
4th and 1.
Yeah, like I thought these guys stepped up and really did a good job. And the rotation, I think, helped JT and Jack and Tyleek and Ty Hamilton at the end of the game. And so I hope Coach Johnson feels more comfortable doing this moving forward because our twos are really good. Edric Houston played a lot. He played on the interior as well. I kept looking like, is that number 96? Like I couldn't tell who it was. And I was like, oh, that's Edric Houston. He's huge. First off, he's gotten way bigger since he's gotten to Ohio State. And like he played in the interior. And so I love that we did that. You know, I love that Jermaine Matthews played quite a bit at corner. He played in the slot at times. You know, he rolled back to safety a couple times. I love that Jordan Hancock did the same thing. I love that Sonny Styles. They've reached a point with Sonny Styles that we just need to move him around. Like, if we're playing this team and we need to have 3 linebackers on the field, it's perfectly fine because Sonny Styles can bump out and be the big nickel or Sam linebacker, and we're fine. I thought Sonny played solid. You know, Cody Simon, I think, played his best game of the season. And so the rotation and just sticking to who they are as a defense when it comes to, you know, being able to play man coverage and picking our spots with pressure and it actually working, like that was fun to see. This defense showed why they're one of the best defenses in the country. You know, Caleb Downs, God, man, how lucky are we? We say it every single week. You know, IGB, hey, he got his holding call, but man, did he make up for it? And so we've got dogs, man, and I just love it. Denzel Burke, the way he's battled back from the Oregon game, like so much respect for him. The defense, this was collectively one of the best showings that I've seen of the Buckeyes defense in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you know, we like you said, we made no bones about it from episode 1 in January. I am a Caleb Downs fanboy. There's no other way to put it. You know, that is that one recruitment, you know, when he went to Alabama, I'm like, dude, this sucks. But everything works out. And, you know, we moved him with Tyler Warren. Probably it'll be interesting to see the number because I'm sure somebody's going to compute it once we get snap counts. I bet 80% of the time he was in man coverage on Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always talk about how good Lathan Ransom is too. But you saw the one time that Lathan Ransom was on Tyler Warren basically said, here, give me the ball.
Yeah.
And made a play.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a knock on Lathan. They're just 2 totally different players.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that defensive rotation, you know, Kenyatta played a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, JTT did JTT things in a Penn State game. And, you know, showed some fire. And we would be remiss if we did not also give a shout out to the special teams. Jaden Fielding,
Yeah.
I clenched every time we rolled him out there, partially because field goals against Penn State still give me PTSD from the blocked one that cost us the game. What was that, 18, I think?
I think so.
But all in all, phenomenal.
Yeah.
So it actually makes the good, the bad, and the ugly really, really easy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the good for me starts and ends with but the offensive line. I hope Will Howard takes those guys to Hyde Park tonight for dinner. They earned everything they have coming to them. The defense, and that goes with Knowles too. 2 different times, 1st and goal from the 3 and inside, and you hold them both times.
It's big, man.
Penn State didn't score an offensive touchdown. I mean, let's think about that. A team that was averaging 30-some points a game does not score an offensive touchdown. And then I also put IGB down. That pick was just insane. I mean,
it was a great play.
It was a no-look pick, basically.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, I can remember a couple of friends of mine, saying, friends of ours, why don't we ever turn and look for the ball? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You got picks right there. And it's like, okay, well, then if you turn too late and then once you turn, oh crap, the ball's right here. Now they've made a play. And so I think IGB, we've seen Denzel Ward do in the NFL. You've got to play the hands. And on that play, I thought he did a phenomenal job of playing through the hands. Now, the kid still had an opportunity to catch a ball, but it was going to be a very tough catch.
And he pushed off of him.
He pushed his face and everything. And so for IGB to play through the hands still and be in a spot to get that ball, possess it, and find a way to get a foot down, like that was huge. I remember when it happened, I said, Dad, we picked that off. I was sitting with my dad. I was like, Dad, that's an interception. Oh, they scored a touchdown. Like, no, Dad, I think we picked it off. And then, when they went to the review, I was in the other room and my dad started excited. He picked it off, son. I was like, I told you, Dad, I told you. So that was a pretty cool moment. But it was a great play, man. IGB is just an absolute dog.
Yeah, and you actually changed my stance on the playing the ball thing. A long time ago when we talked about it. And like for everybody listening, we're talking like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah,
we had these conversations. And you're right though, because in the NFL, yes, you have to turn ahead. It gives you a lot. And speaking of IGB, I have an uncle who is a big Penn State fan, has been since I was little. And of course, the first post I see from him, not even halftime yet. How much did Ohio State pay the refs?
Oh my gosh.
They let the guys play both ways.
They did.
Yes. Ohio State's DBs are very physical. But Penn State's offensive line held on every play.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on the good.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm going to say for the silver bullets and the Buckeye Leafs, but for me, obviously the good, the offensive line, I was just so proud of the way that they stepped up. The defensive line, extremely happy with the rotation. That was really the big thing. Just get more bodies out there so that they're fresh, I think it was Jay Book on Twitter or something where he was talking about Michigan and their D-line rotation. Heck, it might have been you. I can't remember. But they were talking about their Michigan's defensive line rotation last year. And in the fourth quarter, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are fresh and healthy and ready to fly around. And that's when they were able to just go out and wreak havoc. I was happy to see Ohio State kind of, adopt that philosophy. And so that was definitely the good for me. And then the last thing that in the good for me is Ryan Day. And you could just see it on his face afterwards, to see his interaction with Chip Kelly, to see his interaction with Ross Bjork and Ted Carter, the president of Ohio State, to see him in the locker room with the kids, dancing around and things like that. Like that was huge for him. To hear Urban Meyer kind of give, Ryan Day, that validation, like that's a sense of relief. Like I cannot stress that enough. Like when I became the head coach at Harding, obviously I'm following Coach Brady. Coach Brady had done some good things, and Coach Brady really pushed for me to be, to apply for the job. And if everything worked out, that's great. And so, like, I remember after getting my first win, talking to Coach Brady and how good it made him feel that we got that first win, right? And for me, as this young protege of Coach Brady, who had been following him since he was a senior in high school, now I'm the head coach. Like, to get that validation from Coach Brady meant the world to me. Like, meant the absolute world to me. And so Ryan Day, in a similar situation, was given the Ohio State job because of what Coach Meyer said and vouched for about Ryan Day. And so to get that validation, the best win that you've had as the Ohio State Buckeyes, head coach, like that's got to be a good feeling for him. So that would be the last like good thing that I would want to bring up, because I know, his stress levels are on 1,000 million times higher than I would ever have. But, to get that validation from your former boss, I remember when I got the job and Coach Hinton texted me, I cried. Like, that just to get those things, it affirms that you've made the right decision and that you can know that people are believing in you. And so I know Ryan Day deep down, he won't admit it probably, but I know deep down, to hear those words from Urban, like that was probably something that meant a lot to him.
Yeah, and speaking of Coach Day, it was cool for me to hear in the post-game press conference him finally acknowledge, I hear the chatter. I hear the things everybody's saying. And you hit on the interaction with him and Coach Kelly. The unedited version of that interaction is great because you can hear multiple F-bombs.
Yeah.
And again, we try to keep it correct around here, but like, there's nothing wrong with showing that kind of emotion. And then, of course, speaking of emotion, your guy, Coach Hinton, seeing him turn up in the locker room afterwards, that's what we're here for.
That is awesome, man.
As far as the bad goes, I don't have anything bad for the Buckeyes. I do have two bad things, though. That stupid lion roar that they play all the time. And you can't play Mo Bamba on every down. If you want to play Mo Bamba as your third down song, cool. I like it. But don't play it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, don't play it all the time. And I feel like, you can't play it every time. Like third down, if that's your song, like you said, play it. In fourth quarter, if that's your song, play it. But I don't really have any bad. I have no bad. I can't, obviously the fumble Will Howard had, interception, like those are bad. I do have one ugly though, and this might be the first ugly that I've ever had while we're doing this. The footing on that field was terrible. Like, I'm all for, like, I would like to see the Buckeyes go back to having a natural grass field. I think it's great. I think it's better for the athletes. Obviously the Buckeyes would have the greatest grass field ever, likely, and it would be well taken care of and maintained. But the footing, it was from the first snap, man. People were slipping on both teams, and it's just like, man, like I don't know what the weather was like leading up to it. I didn't think it rained or anything like that. It was bad. I was not expecting that. And so that would be like the only ugly thing that I would have. And a couple of the Penn State fans that were going after James Franklin. Listen, if you get rid of James Franklin, then you better hope you get Kirk Cignetti out of Indiana. I'll just say that, because I don't know many other people that are going to take that job and want to make it their home, or they're going to be at for the rest of their career. I mean, and so I'm not saying Penn State's a bad job. Penn State's a great job. I think it's a top 10 job in the country, but I just don't know a lot of people that are going to leave, other big jobs for that place. Kurt Cignetti is the only guy that I would like pinpoint as we got to get him. You know what I mean? And so there's a couple fans that were giving Coach Franklin a hard time. I get it. His record against, top 10, top 5, Ohio State is not good. But man, it's like he had like 1 million recruits there on Saturday. Like he's doing a pretty decent job, and everything that you want is likely still ahead of you. You still have a clean shot to the playoff. So I don't know. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but yeah, I tend to defend coaches a lot when I shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, and I actually had James Franklin written down under the ugly just because he might be the worst big game coach ever.
Yeah, he's not that good.
I'm going to cancel it out because props to him for the conversation he had with the one fan.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you want to talk? What's your name? Let's talk. And then the guy cowers down. So
yeah,
I'm going to not put James Franklin under the ugly, but I have two things. The Blizzard offense. You're not Oregon. You outthunk yourselves to where nothing you tried to do out of anything fancy worked. This was a smash mouth football game, and you're trying to finesse it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we're going to put the Blizzard offense and the Penn State offensive coordinator under that. And then you hit on the Penn State fans. How about the idiot that decided I want to start a fight with Jason Kelsey?
What?
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, now, so this dude is right behind Jason Kelsey.
Okay.
Jason, how does it feel knowing that your brother is expletive for dating Taylor Swift? Jason turns around, grabs the dude's cell phone, and throws it down and smashes it.
Oh, my gosh.
Then Jason bends down to pick the dude's phone up, and the dude tries to push him.
I'm going to have to Google this.
I will send it to you right now.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. Now, props to Jason Kelsey because he was also carrying a case of garage beer while he was doing it. So thank you for helping fund Ohio State's NIL, Jason.
Yeah.
Which I know him and Travis bought into it, though. They're part owners of the company now. But, yeah, I gotta find it. Man.
That's hilarious.
Now, of course, there were a lot of people vilifying Jason Kelsey for this.
Yeah.
Because then, of course, Jason also doesn't make it any better because then he turns around and basically says the same homophobic slur to the gentleman that he was using for Travis,
man.
So yeah, that's my ugly though.
Yeah.
For the Buckeye leaves, so I actually took a page out of Coach Slate's book this week. I couldn't hand out 20 Buckeye leaves. So we're doing Buckeye leaves and silver bullets.
There we go.
Buckeye leaves, obviously the offensive line. All of them. Y'all get one. I originally had it as Hensman and Donovan both, but I'm like, you know what? When you really look, Tegra played really, really good.
Yeah, it was definitely his best game.
Josh Fryer played really, really good. And Seth McLaughlin was just doing Seth McLaughlin things.
Yeah.
I'm going to give one to Jaden Fielding.
Here we go.
This dude's been under the microscope a little bit and, 2 massive field goals. I mean, without those 2 field goals, you win the game by a point.
Yep.
I mean, and then Quinshon Judkins, the way he ran, that swagger that he had, barking, talking his mess. I'm here for it in that kind of game.
Yeah. So I've got a few Buckeye leaves for sure. I got the running backs, like you just said, Quinshon, Travion. They definitely get one. The way that they ran, the way they hit the holes, the physicality that they ran with, the violence that they ran with, like that is what we want to see from those two. And it was awesome. We didn't have the home run play, that we often expect from Trey specifically, but we had the consistent play, the 4, 5, 6 yards of carry from Trey. And so that was awesome. They get my first Buckeye leaves. And then Carson Hensman, I was going to say the whole offensive line, but just for what Carson Hensman has had to deal with, I don't want to say overcome because he's at Ohio State, but what he's had to deal with since, starting those 12 games and then having to sit the bench, have a young guy go in ahead of you in the games that, there were that Donnie was out. And then, be thrust into this moment, having not played in a few weeks. Like that was a big moment. So they definitely get my Buckeye leaves for sure. Now I've got a lot of silver bullets, but we'll get there.
So yeah. I kept it to 3 because I knew you were gonna have more. So I know one of these is gonna be the same, and that's okay because Cody Simon balled out.
Yeah.
10 tackles. I think he had a TFL. But there, this kid is just really, we've talked a lot in the last month about Cody Simon almost being the quote unquote weak link at linebacker. And I think Cody Simon's here to say, hey guys, I'm right here. Maybe he's listening to us. Maybe that's his middle finger to us. If it is, Cody, I'm going to keep talking mess if you keep playing that way. Caleb Downs. I mean, this kid, I don't think people still realize how good he is.
Yeah.
Because the numbers aren't gaudy. He doesn't have a pick. Almost had one yesterday.
Yes, he did.
But what this kid does schematically and football intelligence wise, you could see him out there yesterday directing traffic on a lot of the blizzard stuff.
Yeah.
He was the quarterback of the defense as a sophomore.
Yes.
It's his first year and a complex defense, and he is out here running the show. And I'm going to give one to Jim Knowles. I think yesterday was I don't even think it was the full package still.
No.
But yesterday was more of a Jim Knowles game than we've seen in a long time. Jim Knowles has taken a boatload of criticism from Ohio State fans. And, we talk, we try to look at things, obviously with your coaching experience, the game better than 90% of the people in the world. I consider myself a fairly good X's and O's person.
Mm-hmm.
And to see what we were able to do yesterday is truly starting to finally be Jim Knowles in his bag. We've always talked about Chip being in his bag. But yesterday, Jim Knowles was in his bag.
Yeah. Jim Knowles, man. Listen, the frustration with some of the things that we've done defensively it's warranted at times. There's no doubt about it. But the one thing that I will always respect about Jim Knowles is that he trusts his guys. He trusts his players. And as a player, that's what you want. And so I think it's one of the reasons why the DBs and the guys play so hard is because they know Jim Knowles, who's calling the defense, trusts them to go make these plays and to go lock down a tight end that's one of the best in the country, or to be in one-on-one on an island, because he just keeps returning to it. And so they see the way the guys responded to that. I think Jim got a little bit more creative with some of the pressures and things this week. I want to see Jack Sawyer do some more, but that's another conversation. But I think Jim Knowles called a really good game. So I've got 5. We shared 2 of them, Cody Simon and Caleb Downs. Cody Simon's best game, and Caleb Downs he's just a dog. One of the commentators, I might have been Joel Klatt, made the comparison. He's like, and I hate to say this, but he's very Troy Polamalu like. Yep. And I'm like, whoa, like that's all right. Bob Sanders, okay. Troy Polamalu, now you're getting into like that next level stuff.
One of the arguably top 5 safeties.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. But so other than those 2, I got to give some love to my guy, IGB. This dude, I don't even have words for him sometimes, man. He does his aggression gets him in trouble a lot, whether it's pass interference, whether it's holding. But you can tell Tim Walton and the defensive backs coaches do not want to take that aggression away from him because he continues to play that way. And I love that. And to bounce back after getting that hold and then turn around and getting that interception was huge. My next one, Kenyatta Jackson. I was so worried about him transferring after last year. just because I know how talented he is. And I think he would go to some SEC school and be a dominant player and end up being a first-round draft pick. But he stuck around. He's getting more playing time now, and he made some plays, man. And I'm really impressed with how he plays the run as well. And so
Yes.
Kenyatta Jackson, for me, is somebody who's really turning into a player for us. And then the last one, we talked about this kid last year when we signed, or was it last year? Whenever we signed Kane McDonald, I can't remember, but we talked about how he was underrated and how talented he is. And I think he showed a little bit of that, with Tyleik Williams going out. Hopefully it's not a severe injury or serious injury, but I think K-Mac can come in and do some of the very similar things. And so those fourth down, the goal line stands and that fourth down stop, that was largely due to the fact that Caden McDonald just obliterated that center. And so that is somebody that I definitely believe that is deserving of a silver bullet.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, this was a fun game to watch. Obviously as Buckeye fans, I'm just a fan of good football, and it was a good game. I did get a question asked to us. Maybe we'll try to throw that out on before the battle, because with it being Purdue, I don't know that we'll have a whole lot of deep dive. Obviously we'll have some film to watch from this game. So we did get a question about coaching. It's a coaching question.
Okay.
So I got it texted to me late last night. But obviously it's games like this that are part of the reason we wanted to do this, because it's so much fun to talk about. Yeah. And I say it every week, thank you to all of our listeners. And obviously to our sponsors, the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy, Cornerstone Home Remodeling. Looks like the Barn just made an announcement. They brought in a new instructor. So we'll share that to our page, for anybody looking for something like that. Thank you to all of you guys. I do want to give a shout out this week.
There we go.
I want to give a shout out to all of the high school seniors who played their last snaps this weekend.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the Friday night lights in Ohio, especially. So shout out to those guys who strapped them up for the last time. Yeah, man.
That was it's always tough after those games, man, when you know that it's it. You don't get to coach those kids anymore. It's definitely like a bittersweet feeling, because you know how hard they worked. We made it to the playoffs and things like that, but you want to see them move on and have a ton of success. If they're going to play football or not, it doesn't really matter, whatever sport they play. But then it's also like a selfish part of it too, where you're like, dude, like I want to coach that kid for another year. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's tough, man. There were a lot of tears on Friday. A lot of families out on the field, loving on their babies and stuff like that. So, it's definitely a tough time. One of the players asked me after the game, he was just like, Coach, when's it going to hit me? And I said, dude, it will hit you in about a week when you realize, like, man, like, I don't have to get ready for football. I don't not getting ready for my off season. You know what I mean? And so it will hit you, and you're going to be like, man, you're going to look back and did I give everything I had to the game or not? And so I told him, make sure you don't question that, man. Like, your coaches believed in you and you gave us everything that you have. And so it's tough, man. It's definitely tough to see, but always proud of those guys, man. And always proud of every senior who decides to strap it up and play their careers and play football in high school, because there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I played 5 years in college. I had the best time of my life, but nothing compared to playing under the lights on, at Harding Stadium. And so, to see those kids, man, it was awesome. It's awesome to know that I'm a small piece of their story. And it's just, there's just no way to put it, man. There's no words to describe that feeling. And I know those kids, are going to go on and do some big things. So that's definitely a tough time for sure.
For sure. Well, that is all I've got for the week. What about you?
That's it, man. All good.
All right. Well, we will see you guys later this week for Before the Battle Boilermaker edition. And,